Next, we're going to have a panel. If I could ask the people for session 2 to start coming forward, and I am going to introduce the moderator, Tony Zampiello. There are some seats down front. You just kind of wiggle the chairs apart a little bit so you're not so tight. So if people want to move down, try to make room for folks and just kind of stretch the chairs out a little, and we'll take up just a little bit of the aisles there. I don't think we're breaking any fire code. Our next panel is a balanced portfolio of water supply solutions. It's moderated by Tony Zampiello, the Executive Director of the main San Gabriel Valley Basin Watermaster. And now when I introduce these people and give their titles, you'll understand when they came into being and what their role is. In 2004, he also became the Assistant Executive Officer. Let me step back. Tony was appointed to the position that he holds in 2002 and is responsible for overseeing groundwater production, quality and treatment, well construction, and resource planning. In 2004, he also became the Assistant Executive Officer for the main Basin San Gabriel Valley Watermaster. He has over 3 decades of experience in water management and resource planning. Tony holds a bachelor's degree in business management and is certified as a water treatment operator and water distribution operator. So well experienced to lead the next panel. Thank you, Tony. I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Cynthia. First off, I'd like to say my presentation is pretty much done. Ken handled everything for me, so no, I'm just kidding. I'm really honored to give. I'm going to give a brief introduction, but I'm really honored to be a part of this panel. All of the people up here involved play a major role in what I have to do every day, and our biggest role really is to resupply the basin and to make sure that replenishment is done to the basin. So we've got storm water, we've got imported water. Conservation is a big part because obviously if the water is conserved, then we don't have to replenish it. And then we're looking to the future. We're using some, in our area specifically, we're using some direct use of reclaimed water, but we're also really hopeful for the future use of reclaimed water in replenishing the basin. I'm going to give you a very brief background on what my agency is, but I'm going to focus today mainly on one of our most important functions, and that's how we work to actually the function of replenishing the basin. And I need my glasses, unfortunately, so. I'm right there in between where I can still read, but I can't see distance. So, the main San Gabriel Basin Watermaster was formed. Ken mentioned about the water rights dispute that formed our board. It's a 9-person Watermaster board, and our actions are under ongoing jurisdiction of the court. So, any actions that we do beyond our rules and regs or our daily operations go to the court for approval. Our board is kind of a unique board in the sense that it has folks that are elected on it. We have 3 elected officials, but they're not elected as Watermaster members. They're appointed from the member agencies. The Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District appoints 2 members to our board. The San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District appoints 1 member to the board each year. And then we have 6 producer members that are elected amongst the water rights holders based on water rights. Our basic functions are that we monitor and manage groundwater extractions. We have an extensive program that tracks the metering of each domestic well and even some private wells that exist in the basin. We track all of the production. We provide the court with an annual report that outlines what our activities were the previous year, and we also produce a 5-year water quality and water supply plan. What we do there is we work with the producers to try and project out groundwater demands out into the future and any anticipated possible impacts of groundwater quality on the existing wells. And that's where the next item, where we in the early 1980s, Watermaster was given the, I guess it was in the early 90s finally, the Watermaster was also given the power by the court to oversee water quality, and we have a permitting process in the basin where if somebody wants to drill a new well beyond whatever their environmental impact requirements are or their own requirements are, we have a permitting process where we review the impact of that well and its production on our current water quality and supply in the basin. One of the things I'm going to talk about a little later is determining the operating safe yield for the basin. We do that on an annual basis and take a combination of factors into place. And then we actually are the agency. Once we determine the safe yield, determine how much water has been produced, we actually place the order with the responsible agencies for delivery. Very quickly, our most recent amendments to the judgment, just this June, we went back to the court, and trying to make the Watermaster more flexible and adaptable to the way conditions are now. When we were originally came into existence, the idea was that Ken mentioned the physical solution, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Physical solution basically is that in the main San Gabriel Basin, if you have 1,000 acre-feet of water right, you can pump 1,100 acre-feet, and then we simply replace that water and bill you at the end of the year. In recent years, we've seen that particular model doesn't exactly fall into line with how supplies are in recent years. We may have one year where we have more than we need for replacement, but then we may have several years where we have zero replacement available. So what we did, a lot of these amendments when we went back to the court, was to try and make the Watermaster more able to turn on a dime and adjust as the availability of replacement water and other local factors factor into what our needs are for replacement at the end of the year. We had an extensive outreach amongst the parties. We had no opposition to the amendments, and some of the amendments were just going back to make operational fixes from things that existed or were anticipated back in 1973 that just don't apply anymore. I think I talked about most of this. One of the highlights here was to clarify our role in public policy education. In the past, at one point years ago, it was made clear to the Watermaster through a court ruling that we can't directly lobby in Sacramento or in Washington, D.C. However, we always had played a role in educating in forums like this or other forums where we might have elected officials. We clarified that in one of the judgment amendments to say that we could do that it was fine, that no one could go back to the judge and reinterpret our ability to do that. The other important thing that we did on this slide is years ago when there was much more mining going on in the basin, there was a cap placed on the ability to bring imported water in certain years when the key well had gotten above 250 feet above mean sea level. And the problem with that for us is that there are conditions now where we may have local water that we want to spread that may take the key well above the 250 mark, but then we may also have a wet year. There could be a possibility of a wet year from one of either on any of the supplies that Metropolitan or the state water contractors have, where they'd want to bring water in too. In the past, before this amendment, we wouldn't be allowed to do that. we wouldn't be allowed to bring in any import, because years ago it had a much more adverse impact on the rock mining operations, and today there isn't that same impact. So now we have the flexibility to do that. And then the other key thing, we have the ability to assess supplementally, in the sense that if water becomes available mid-year, our board can go back to the members and possibly create a second assessment if need be to pre-purchase water. It just makes us more flexible to the availability of water, because when we set our assessment in May and June of each year, we don't really know what the availability may be going into the next, let's say, calendar year of water. And then the other thing that we're going to do going forward, part of this, it required us to work together as a committee or as a planning group with our water suppliers now, to at least try and develop some understanding of what the availability going out 3 years will be of replacement water. And that should help us in a lot of ways to plan for those years when we might not have water, or years where we may be able to take a little extra water. The physical setting is that we overlie the San Gabriel Valley. Our area is 167 square miles. We serve about 80% of the valley's water needs, about 1.4 million people, and annual production, annual amount that's pumped from local wells is about 230 to 260 thousand acre feet a year. And as an example, so if it's a year where the production is 250,000 acre feet, and we set the operating safe yield at 230,000 acre feet, there's 20,000 acre feet there that Watermaster needs to find to replenish. Once we purchase that water, then it's assessed only to the overproducers. Here's a map. This is very similar to the map that Ken had put up. One of the main features that kind of splits our area is the San Gabriel River and the 605. This is a cartoon. I hope it doesn't look as stretched up above as it does down here, but this is kind of a cartoon rendering of the basin and our Baldwin Park Key well. The Baldwin Park Key well, that level was established in the judgment. That's one of the factors that the board takes into consideration when they set the operating safe yield each year. Now, what our ideal or our target operating level is between 200 feet above sea level to 250 feet above sea level. So if we can stay in that band, then we're considered to be within our operating level. This is kind of a flow chart of how the acquisition of water works, how it impacts the water consumer. We have the LA County Public Works here. County Public Works does an excellent job each year. That's Chris's agency, of capturing local runoff and storing as much as they possibly can, and at the same time providing us with the flood control protection. Metropolitan Water District, through the Municipal Water District, that's how we purchased a portion of our replacement water. And also in that Municipal Water District role is the San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District, the state water contractor that Ken talked about. And then from there, the retail suppliers that everybody gets their water from. But in between the two, the water supply is highly regulated by the State Department of Health. They're the folks that place the limits on what can be served, how it can be served to the consumer.